I'm Jimmy Fee, and today I'm going to talk about one of our favorite tuna jigs that we used last summer. One I'm super excited to use again as this tuna season rolls around, and that is the Shimano Shimmerfall. There's a few features that have made the Shimmerfall our absolute favorite jig for these applications. Now, as you can see, this jig is a very slender, tapered jig. It's an asymmetrical jig, which means that unlike your typical butterfly jig, where both sides are going to be the same, this jig has one side that is flat and kind of rounded, and then another side that is more angular with these tapered edges. This makes the jig more versatile than your typical more symmetrical jig. That's because you can fish it with both slow pitch and high speed jigging applications. When using it with slow pitch, it's going to have a lot of free falling in your presentation. And with this asymmetrical design, the jig is going to kick out like that and kind of flutter and shimmer as it falls. In a high-speed application, these edges here are going to catch the water as it moves upward, creating an erratic, almost walk-the-dog type retrieve as you work it toward the surface. We predominantly used these jigs last summer in the deep water east of Chatham, Massachusetts, and that's where this slender profile really played a big role. We were tuna fishing in 250 to 300 feet of water, and when we'd mark the fish, we'd want a jig that would get down to them quickly. And this slender profile allowed these jigs in the 200 gram and 170 gram sizes to get down to them quick before we drifted past the tuna and the tuna moved on. So that is a really important factor if you're jigging for tuna anywhere, but especially in deep water. The other nice thing about this slender profile out there is that the tuna were keying in on sand eels. So if you've been tuna fishing at all in the Northeast over the last 5 or 6 years, you know how important these slender jigs and how effective slender sand eel imitation jigs have been. When it comes to matching the hatch, one of the ways that Shimano takes it to the next level with the Shimmerfall jig is the scale boost technology. This is a very realistic scale pattern layered on top of each other, just like a real bait fish, with holographics put over it. It catches a lot of light. It looks very realistic up close, which is important to keen-eyed fish like tuna. And when you pair that with the sand eel pattern, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better sand eel hatch matching jig than this one right here. Every jig comes with a glow eye on it, so for a little added visibility down in the deep water, the eye right here in all these Shimmerfall jigs is going to glow in the dark. Now you can see this one's already been battle tested and battle proven. This is one of those sand eel colors. It comes in 6 colors overall. You have 3 scale boost patterns with sand eel, blue pink, and sardine. Then you have 3 glow patterns. In addition to the glow in the dark on the eye, these patterns have glow on the back side of the jig for more visibility in deep, dark water. And those colors include pink glow, chartreuse glow, and squid glow. The jigs come in 4 sizes. This is the largest at 210 grams. Then you have 170, 140, and 100 for matching those smaller sand eels, targeting smaller school bluefin and yellowfin tuna. But these jigs themselves aren't limited to tuna fishing. As I said earlier, they have a lot of slow pitch applications, which makes them good for ground fish, striped bass, bluefish, grouper, any number of deep water species that are predatory and will respond to that slow pitch presentation. But when targeting big pelagics, that's when you're going to break out the high-speed jigging. When you are targeting the big fish in there, these jigs are all through wired. Now, if you're just fishing one assist hook up top, that's not necessarily going to come into play, but if you're slow pitch jigging and you like to have an additional hook at the bottom of the jig itself is reinforced with a wire that goes all the way through it. It's going to be strong enough to handle any fish that you could possibly hook on it. I say that with a lot of confidence because this jig here, the one still rigged up on the rod from our last tuna trip of the season, has done battle with bluefin tuna in excess of 80 inches that we've gotten to the boat. Larger fish I know we've hooked and have not gotten to the boat, but at least got the jig back. And if you'll notice, the Shimmerfall comes rigged with a sharp, heavy-duty assist hook on a short lead right there. This is going to be great for most of the tuna you encounter. Because there happened to be a lot of giant tuna east of Chatham, we ended up beefing up our assist hooks, but had no problem with those 50 to 60 inch tuna on the stock hooks that the Shimmerfall comes with. If you want to see more about making your own assist hook, we have a link in the description below. We went through how to make your own assist hooks. It's very easy and fast. It's much less complicated than you think. And then you can match your assist hook to the size of the tuna that you're catching. Some basics about rigging a Shimmerfall jig or any tuna jig that you're fishing. When using an assist hook, what you're going to have is a solid ring attached to a short cord and your hook, then a split ring that attaches to the jig itself. So what this does is it allows you, when you're fighting a big fish, you have a direct connection to that fish through a solid ring. It takes the jig completely out of the equation. The fish isn't going to be able to use the jig for leverage to either bend the hook out or leverage the hook out of its mouth. You are directly connected to it. The other advantage of an assist hook like this is that as you're jigging, say you just had a tail hook on there and you were speed jigging to the surface, there's a chance that that tail hook would go around and grab the line, and if you just dropped 300 feet to a tuna mark you saw, that is a worst case scenario. So this makes sure the jig stays clear and fishes clean throughout the retrieve. There's not going to be any hanging up. Provided you're using a assist hook that is big enough for your jig, that means it's one that is wide enough to slide on there and not get caught. So I attached this one with a simple uni knot. A lot of captains like the Palomar knot. Whatever knot you are most confident with tying, it's going to be very strong. This one's held up to some big tuna for us. The Palomar knot is another proven and tested knot. Once that's attached to the assist hook, it is pretty much ready to fish. In order to get the best action out of these jigs, you want to make sure you pair them with a rod that's designed to fish them. If you're slow pitch jigging, you want a rod with a completely different action than if you're high speed jigging for bluefin tuna. Because this jig can do both, you want to make sure they're using the right rod for the given application when you're using the Shimmerfall. For our high-speed tuna jigging, we were using Shimano Trevally rods, but when selecting the rod, the key component is the action, making sure the rod has a proper rating for the size jigs you're using. This is one of the heavier models here. This is the 60H, that's the 6-foot heavy model. So this is going to be best with the 210 and the 170 size jigs. The rod's going to bend enough during the retrieve to bring these jigs to life, to shoot them, to pitch them through the water column in a way that's enticing to the fish. If I was using the smaller 100-gram jig or the 140, I'd go to a lighter rod that's going to be more responsive to those lighter lures and bring them to life. So that's important. If you're using too stiff a rod for the size of the lure, you're not going to get the action out of it you want. Same story, if I was using a lighter rod, a rod that was too light for these, it's not going to have that snappy action to bring these jigs to life, make them look like a fleeing sand eel. While we've only used the Shimmerfall in high-speed jigging applications for tuna, it's also very effective as a slow-pitch jig. When you remove the tension from the line, this jig, because of its tapered edges, is going to kick out to the side and flutter down like this. And this is more likely to draw strikes from fish that maybe aren't in an aggressive feeding mood, fish that are hanging along the bottom, and that's going to entice them to bite. To see more tuna fishing content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a ton of tuna videos on there already, and more coming out every season.